let us begin. I'm just going to mute you, no offense. Sit up straight and tall, shoulders back. So it's the last day of the month. It's also Memorial Day. Which is a holiday of remembrance. And it's a particular kind of remembrance, but it's from a yoga perspective, it is perhaps a nice moment to think about memory itself and how it works. Join your palms. And make yourself quiet, upright, still, steady. Come into this practice humbly. And pay homage to that root teacher, Patanjali. Bow your head. Release your hands. Raise your head. Open your eyes. Take your first pose with a bolster, Adho Mukha Virasana. So there's two things about today. One is that it's the end of the month. So at the end of the month, I sort of followed the Iyengar's idea of working with prana, that inward tension. So fold forward, resting on those hips. Stretch your arms forward and cross your elbows. Rest your head on your forearms so you can breathe. You've got your chest and arms resting on that bolster. So what is memory? Memory is of sort of, you might think it has at least two components. The definition, by the way, of memory, Patanjali's definition of this term, smriti, memory is it's basically those experiences which do not slip out of consciousness. So that is smriti. It's that which we retain of our experiences. Now, that's complicated because in yoga terms, every experience creates an impression, leaves an impression. And those impressions are either recognized or not. Sometimes we get an impression, but the consciousness doesn't recognize it, so it isn't retained. You can have any experience you try to remember now. Certain things will sift to the surface. What left an impression on another part of your mind. There's the sensory mind that just takes in the information. The eyes see things, the ears hear things, the skin feels things, but the consciousness doesn't always retain it. You come out of the event and certain things are remembered. So there's the sensory mind, and then there's the intellect, the manas, sensory mind, buddhi, intellect. They each register events differently. So take Adho Mukha Svanasana now, but do it with support. Leave your bolster, leave your props, but add a strap. Take this strap and put it across your forearms, just below the elbow, wide enough, narrow enough, that when you bring your hands to shoulder width, there is firm support, elbow straight. Now, this strap is just below the elbows on the forearm, not the upper arm. And you go up toward dog pose, hanging your head. You see this strap is low enough that your head doesn't rest on it. That's part of the deal. The other part is the belt is strong enough that it gives support to the arms. You don't have to work so hard. Raise the heels, stretch the legs, go back just till your skull touches the bolster. Don't try lowering the heels. Just stretch up and hang your head so it rests comfortably. Breathe. Slow, soft, steady exhalation. Hips up high, heels up high. The strap giving support, so Karen, it doesn't look like your strap is level. It's got to be just below the elbow on both sides and keep the pressure against it. Walk the wrists apart and hang that head. Now, in theory, this gives you more time in the pose to just be contemplative and aware and attempting to make sense of what I just said. There are sensory impressions, but for them to really be cognized, you have to, well, for them to be recognized, you have to cognize them in the first place. So the intellect is what asks the question, am I breathing evenly on both sides of the rib cage? It's the intellect that says, it's the buddhi that says, why does my right shoulder get tired and my left one not? The information is coming in through the senses, but your mind is going to give it significance. Your buddhi is going to give it significance. So come out now to half Uttanasana. That means you take your hands on that bolster for support, so the spine stays open, arms straight, legs straight. And after a bit, keep the legs lengthening down to the floor, up to the hips, soften the abdomen, keep the bones long, joints soft as you hang down. So the hanging down might feel structurally a little more close because you're curved instead of all straight lines, but the breath should stay open. Karen, keep your hips comfy. Take as the kind of support that keeps your hip feeling safe. Outer thighs back. So there's a third part that's sort of implicit memory, and that's the ego. Ahamkara, that's the other part of what we call the mind that contains memory. So the other way of looking at memory is that there is the events that your mind records and considers significant. Memory is also rolled into all that sort of pure experience, is how you feel about it. If your experience is negative, positive, mixed, like war, for instance. The same event in a war, we memorialize war because it is significant, it is powerful, it changes everything. It is most certainly something that imprints itself on our memories, and in different ways, right? Same event, same sensory experience, whatever that may be. But one person, one side of that experience reads and remembers acts of valor, acts of courage, acts of brilliance, acts of, that were significant and memorable in that way. The other, same event, the other side is of terror, anger, death, etc. Significant, a whole other way. So memory is not just the event, not just the sensory event, but it's also this overlay of how you feel. how it affects you, your reactivities. Come up. Now, I'm still keeping you upside down-ish. So if there is a weakness in handstand or full arm balance, you take this strap, very same place below the elbows, very same shoulder width, and you measure, beg pardon, what I'll call a wall dog or a half handstand, measuring a leg length to the back of the hips. That's your line there. So you put this strap on and get your heel of the hand on that line and go, or a bit forward if you want to be conservative, just a few inches, and you go upside down, straighten the arms, take your head straight down away from your tailbone. So you're being as long and straight in the spine as you can, especially shoulders, neck, head, which tend to get pressurized. Now, the idea of the strap is to give support so you can stay a while with a certain amount of comfort. The feet should not come up higher than the hips. Heels, not higher than the hips. And be there and hang your head. Learn to be still. The strap, I hope, helps. And if there is trouble, ask a question. If there is elbow strength, feet down, just a tad. Gay. Feet down, just a tiny bit. Yes. You're also allowed to bend your knees. The point is, invert that spine from head to tail. So another thing to know about smriti is that right now you're going into this pose, and a lot of what you're doing is based on memory. So you're having a present moment experience of this wall dog. And at the same time, you've seen this before, you've done this before, it's left impressions before, which are retained. So a certain amount of what you are experiencing in this moment involves memory. In fact, a lot of what you are experiencing in this moment is your smriti. And another part of what you're experiencing is its direct experience. Come out, rest. Everything about this that is familiar to you is smriti. Now it's time for something like headstand. Do you do headstand separately in some way, using chairs, ropes, floor, corners? So, Pratima, you are the first up, and others have not finished setting up. So you're allowed to come out early. In any case, this headstand spine should feel similar to that spine of the half handstand. Pressing the forearms, lift the shoulders, keep those sides of the neck long, open. Breath soft and even. So again, the way you know to do Shirshasana as you do it is all memory. And the way you think and feel, I mean emotionally, do you like headstand? Do you have a little bit of worry about headstand? Right? Your feelings, raga, dvesha, fear of death. Some people are quite worried in Shirshasana. They fear for their neck. It's a difficult thing. This leaves an imprint. And it shapes subsequent experience. Some of what you count as smriti is the memory of your own experience. Some of what you count as smriti is the memory of what you have learned from teachers like me and many others. That goes into your memory. Each time you remember something, there is a context in which the memory arises. There is something that stimulates the memory. Those contexts are not always the same. Right? Different day, different things happen, and memory is stimulated in a lot of different ways. So your feelings about the same event might change subsequently. Okay, come out. So after you come up, watch this. I'd love for you to do Supta Virasana. And there's two ways of working. One is with a chair. That's the high support Supta Virasana. There's a chair. And the other one is low support, just a bolster. So I'm going to show high support for a second, just so you see how it could be. You need some support for your head that's comfortable, head and neck. So as I've done in the past, you put a base bolster crosswise and another one on a tilt. And you probably add a rolled blanket to fill in gaps. So that's the high support. And at the other end, at the foot end, I get a blanket here. Watch. Put your feet, toes through. And go back. So the idea is you get these front thighs open, and with my feet turned back, it's more of a front thigh opener, and the head comes down, the chest is open. Okay, you can hold the chair. You can stretch your arms overhead. The other lower support, I'm putting something under my knees. And you see how my head goes off the bolster. Now, there's a thing. Some bolsters aren't high enough. It's not high enough. They get so flat that your head goes to the floor. It doesn't open freely. So it is certainly an option, and I'm going to exercise it for myself to put a little bit more height underneath the bolster. It's just a folded blanket. And that's going to make it. Now, just as with this chair support work, you want the neck and skull support, and you want the knees at the far end. If you're on the chair, it's not important. On the bolster, it's kind of important. You can stretch your arms, cross your elbows, can let your arms out to the sides. They're very, enjoy yourself for a bit. Bend those knees, Gay. Get your front thighs to stretch more. Bring your feet in much closer to the chair and get your shoulder blades on the chair, Gay. Get your shoulder blades. That means it's kind of likely that you have to raise support under the neck and head, but I'm not sure. Lower shoulder blades right at the edge of that chair. Yes. And tuck your buttocks. Now there's a possibility of getting those tippy toes underneath the chair seat. Turn them the other way, toenails on the floor. Yes. That's why I put a blanket there, really helps. So you can slide your toes. Now, if you go through the rung of the chair, Karen, like I see, you need to pat the rung instead of the floor. And go back, rest your head. It's a big stretch, but it would be good for the bursa. Just tuck your toes under. Yeah, cramps come. That's why you do it first. It's hard to do after the fact. Pull it through a lot. Yeah. Yes. Now, get your buttocks all the way off the chair. All the way. So your buttocks have to drag the other way as you take your head down. There you go. Lengthen the front thigh. Open the front hip. Be soft. Come out slowly. Sit up straight for half a minute. Don't come out of the chair straight away. Then come out. Keep your chair, but change its propping. All the bolsters go away. The sticky mat goes over the chair back, and the chair approaches a wall, not close. How close? Like so. It's got to be away from the wall, far enough, just far enough that you're resting your back against the chair back, and you just turn to reach your arm to the wall behind you. And it's got to go to your fingers, not your palm. You got to have your back touching the chair so you get that full arm reach. Much further proximity, go away. Put your back rib on the chair. Keep going. Keep going. More. Yes, now reach. Oh, you're in the neighborhood now. Move another inch. Yes. Now reach, just make sure it's an expansive reach, but it's not an overreach. It's just a full reach, okay? Full reach. Now, put your heels up the chair leg. Keep your back just near those shoulder blades on the chair back. Hook your elbows. Watch me first, because you'll lose sight. If you do, press your heels, pull with the elbows, and roll the weight of your chest on top of that chair. It's quite stable. It's not going to rock. Leave your heels down. Let your chest open. You see how I'm supporting my head, neck, throat. So I keep my neck at ease till it's ready to let go. Then the arms go to the wall. And I just be there. I'm not trying to overdo, underdo. I'm just doing. Okay. Breathing, expanding, go. Now, Pratima, one of the ways you know you're too close to the wall is that you can't straighten your arms. So scooch away farther.
Devon,
Now walk your hands down the wall, Pratima. Down the wall, way down. Put the palm on the wall. Now keep going, below shoulder height. Walk your hands down. Yes, keep going. Now just be there and reach for the wall horizontally so the heel of the palm comes to the wall. Yes, now, okay.
I just had a
Gotta,
question where the back of the chair is supposed to be.
just below the shoulder blades.
Okay.
Okay, so not inches below. Well, hang on, Gay, watch, sit. It's got to be, you can't climb up high. You shouldn't need to. If you bring your back up to the chair and hook your elbows, if you dig your shoulder blades down, they should touch the chair back.
Right.
That's exactly where you need to be. Take your hands a little wider, Gay. Now go down the wall and stretch your elbows.
I think I have to be out more.
And come out when you feel like you've stretched enough. Okay. You can rest for a bit, just be upright and like silent, sit up straight there, Pratima, no slouching. Shoulders back. And then when you're ready, repeat just once. Not necessarily for long, but see if the second time around you can be more at ease. Because Smriti is helping you now. There's an experience. There's your recollection of how you felt. There is, in this moment, perhaps some adjustment according to that memory. Make sure those two hands are level with each other. You don't have one above or below. See that the weight on the heels is equal. The weight on the big toes is happening in the first place. Don't roll. Throat open. Don't harden the neck. And come out. Okay. And sit straight. So come out and set up for, once again, chairs here. Set up for a chair supported shoulder stand. This will move your chair a few inches from the wall. Look, you've got to be able to hook your heel, just your heel, between the chair and the wall. You got to be able just to wedge the heel in. Okay, So if you're too close to the wall, you can't wedge the heel in. If you're too far from the wall, your foot just falls down. So don't get too far. Just get heel wedging. It's like this far from the wall, hand span. Then you get a nice bolster, one that makes your neck very happy. I personally put a blanket underneath that because I've got a sticky mat here and I like coming out on something that slides. So I use a blanket. That's usually all you need. It is sometimes the case that people add more height underneath where the hips go on the chair in order to adjust the contact and support for this sacrum lumbar region. So this part right here at the edge of the chair may vary in its thickness and its height. And my option, Pratima, is always choose thickness. So is that underneath there a folded up sticky mat? Yeah. And put that blanket, it's better placed on top of that sticky mat on the chair where you had it. Yes. Because you want your chest, you really want your chest and spine to be able to hang down onto their support. So you feel you're just lightly resting on that bolster, hips comfortably lifted. So when you're going back, the heels hook the chair, and that means you can move your hands to adjust your bolster without losing the placement of the hips on the chair, the lower body. The heels go up the wall, not the toes, toes away. And if you are balanced in this pose, the hands can be soft. So what I see, Pratima, is that you need to move the bolster closer to your neck. It needs to come underneath your neck. The bolster needs to come away from the chair. You see, it's got to move toward your head. Ah, excellent. The bolster moves. Yes. Right to the base of the skull. That blue blanket as well, sir. That blue blanket under her shoulders as well. Yes. Now the shoulders must tuck there, Pratima. Go through the front chair legs, hold the back chair legs, not your feet, your hands. Yes, yes, yes. Reach far so that shoulder rolls back. And sir, if you could, the hands in, here are Pratima's shoulders. If your hands could go underneath and tuck them, just underneath that skin, just tuck. Yeah, roll her chest open, the shoulder blades. Yeah, tuck back toward the chair. Scoop them back. And she'll say, that's good. And stop now. How do you feel, Pratima? Okay, keep holding those chair legs. Reach for them, yes, and take your heels up the wall. Thank you, sir. As you're able, Pratima, can you stretch those fingers to the chair back and walk your hands a bit lower down and hold on tight. If you can't, just hold on tight so that the arm and shoulder stretches. Find something you can hang on to so the shoulder can relax a bit. So sometimes we submerge memories. Sometimes memories never go away, very active. In guna theory, memories that are suppressed or submerged are under the influence of the guna Namaste, which obscures things, clouds things. Sometimes that cloudiness is helpful. Some memories are really not helpful to bring back. Tamas can be helpful. Sometimes we just have blurs of memories, so much memory. Rajas. A sattvic memory. This is lovely. What should be remembered? A sattvic memory is a memory of purpose. It's not a kaleidoscope of sensations and feelings and reactivities and responses and thoughts or suppression of thoughts. It's not that. Sattvic memory is keeping a memory of your goal, your purpose. Now, Karen, you should, yes, a small forward bend according to your hips. So it could just be sitting there in Dandasana. It could also be lying on your back with your legs up the wall. That might be a more suitable one. And that's true for Karen. and pratima coming out of this pose. Come out slowly, slide out slowly. Then you can keep your bolster if you like and put your hips up the wall. So Viparita Karani, or plain old word for Prasarita Padasana, upward extended legs. Buttocks to the wall, lumbars and sacrum level on your platform. Now, if you will strap those feet together, Karen, put a block between your knees so the legs stay parallel. That's for the bursa. A brick or a rolled blanket, something, a spacer, a comfortable spacer. And then bring that strap down. So those two interact with each other and the leg can be just, yes, vertical. That's it. And then tighten it so it is just, you are firm. So in any pose in life, there is this breathing that we do. Exhaling and inhaling. And that little space in between each of those two segments, that little pause between exhale and inhale, and between inhale and exhale, that it's a necessary pause. However tiny it is, it's so tiny we really don't notice it most of the time, but it's there. And it's necessary because it's like you have to go to a neutral gear in your car before you change gears. And going from exhale to inhale is like changing gears. So there needs to be this moment of pause where you're in a neutral. And you kind of have to go through that neutral. It's not just a pause of inhalation. It's actually a pause where you abandon inhalation. And you haven't yet taken up exhalation. So it really is a neutral pause. And if you don't go through that neutral moment, it absolutely interferes with the other gear. You crash gears. You can't inhale and exhale at the same time. Don't try. So the gear of inhalation is a gear where it's a movement where the abdomen deflates and the chest inflates. So the gear action, the active place is the upper body, and the abdomen, pelvis are relaxed. On exhalation, after going through a genuine neutral, the pelvis becomes the active place, and the chest becomes just passively expanded, passively deflating, not actively. There's no activity there anymore. It just lightly deflates. The pelvis is the active controller of exhalation. And you get to the end of that, and you have that moment of pure neutral. And then the activity of the inhalation begins. After that surrender of the activity of exhalation, you have to drop the exhalation. And then at the top of an active chest opening inhalation, you abandon that effort and pause in neutral and begin the effort of exhalation. Pelvis controls the exhalation. Diaphragm, chest, ribs control the inhalation. We think of ordinary breath as the interplay between the apan vayu, that's pelvic exhalation, vayu, and pranavayu, inhalation, chest. The throat, the head, neutral. In fact, the inhalation should increase the passivity in the throat. The exhalation, likewise. Now come out of this Viparita Karani slowly and lie flat for just a moment, and then adjust your position to be one where you're on a thinness of blanket under the spine, the pillow under the head. So I've taken a blanket, regular blanket, and I triple folded it so it's narrow and flat, zigzag folded, then a blanket under the head. So you're in a chest elevated, mildly supported shavasana, not too intense. Tuck your buttocks, stretch your legs out, separate your feet, maybe about a little bit wider than the hips, so you have a nice broad groin and lower abdomen. Tuck your shoulders, let your arms extend out. Don't let them go overhead, just out to the sides. And relax. So that blanket, in theory, goes spine-wise and not crosswise. It goes long-wise to the spine. That's right. And make it go way up so your spine lies along it. And that extra blanket goes on top of it to support your head. Buttocks on the floor, spine and chest on that blanket, and your head on an extra blanket. So you get some lift under the spine. And you're just breathing, regular breathing. Watching, cognizing. So here you are in your Shavasana. Long, slow, steady exhalation and inhalation. When you get toward the end of the exhalation, toward its natural end, keep going very slowly. Don't be pushy, but persist and persist until you feel like you've got to the end of the breath and there's a bit of a contraction wherever that exhale is going. Now, don't make it extreme. If it's extreme, it gets hard to let it go before the next inhale. All I'm after is that you notice, cognize, recognize that little bitty contraction that we feel when we prolong the exhalation. It's not a normal part. We usually don't go that far. Now, add to this exhalation an inwardly voiced sound, not outwardly voiced, but silently pronounce the vowel It's the first letter Sanskrit alphabet. In English, we'd call it a short A. Carry it through the whole of your exhalation. Pronounce it, that sound, as clearly as you can. When your mind is making that sound, your vocal cords, your inner voice makes that sound. Now, when you carry that sound to the end, to that little contraction moment, notice where the contraction occurs. That's all. Then you take your next breath and same letter, same vowel sound, follow it down and reproduce or see if it's reproducible. Get a sense for where that contraction occurs. And then change the vowel to the vowel sound oo, like tube. Ooh. Pronounce from the beginning to the end. Ooh. Steady internal to the small contraction. That contraction occurs in a different place. Repeat this several times to observe. And last sound is the letter M, like marble. M. Make that mental sound. While you're making the sound, it resonates in a different place. And when you bring it to its end, where there's that small contraction, it will have its own unique location. So You have had your own experience. Now I will say, the yogis will say that the sound is felt in the pelvis, lower abdomen. The sound is felt in the chest, heart region. And the sound is felt in the head. So you compare that to your experience. Your experience is valid, even if it is different from the yogi experience, or what is, claimed. So relax from this. Just be breathing. And then slowly bring yourself back. And when you're ready, roll to your side and come up. And just sit. And join your palms. Namaste.